NATO has set up an initiative where, in the event of a war with Russia, NATO deployment to the Baltic region becomes more streamlined, more quick. The Czech president says that the Czech-led initiative to provide military ammunition to Ukraine, which started off with the support of 18 countries, is now down to just half of that at 9 countries. And Marco Rubio, the U.S. Secretary of State, makes a brief stop in Yerevan, Armenia, to meet with the Prime Minister of Armenia and sign agreements. I'm Sophia Marie. I'm a graduate of Georgetown and Oxford. Let's get into news of the Russian, East European, and former Soviet space. Just before we get into it, make sure to like, follow, and repost. I post these updates daily. Now, this from Reuters today. Apparently, according to 2 military officials, NATO has set up a new structure which would facilitate the rapid deployment of NATO troops to the Baltic states in the event of a war with Russia. So apparently there'll be a second corps set up for the Baltic region, and according to these military sources that talk to Reuters, a German-Netherlands corps will be assigned to the defense of the Baltics in particular. According to the Kyiv Independent, this change would, quote, split responsibilities in the region, and the military officials which spoke to Reuters talked about how assigning this second corps would, quote, improve NATO's ability to rapidly reinforce the region. Obviously, the Baltic states have been in the news quite recently, specifically in regards to drone incursions. We had Latvian officials blaming Russia, saying that they were messing with the flight path of Ukrainian drones, and that's the reason why Ukrainian drones fell into Latvia, which then obviously caused the destabilization of the entire government, causing the defense minister to resign, and then we had the prime minister resign a couple days later as well. Reports talk about the fact that this new planned structure comes amidst a feeling among Europeans that they have to provide for their own security, that they can't, rely on the US alone. Now, in other news, the Czech president has come out and said that now there are only 9 countries, half of the 18 that last year were funding the Czech initiative to buy ammunitions for Ukraine. So the Czech president spoke to the Financial Times today saying that, quote, the initiative is still working, but the new difficulty is that only about 9 member states are contributing financially. He stressed the importance of this initiative, saying that the Czech-led initiative has been delivering up to, quote, 50% of all large caliber ammunition to the Ukrainians. Now, interestingly, the Czech president's office has declined to identify which countries in particular have left the initiative. Now, reports have been talking about the fact that ever since Babiš came to power and was elected prime minister of the Czech Republic, someone who ran on limiting funding for Ukraine in its war with Russia, this initiative was close to being canceled, but apparently external pressure from foreign allies made the initiative still stay in place. Now, lastly, Marco Rubio was in Yerevan, Armenia for just about 40 minutes, apparently, meeting with the Prime Minister of Armenia. They signed a strategic partnership agreement in the capital of Yerevan. Now, this comes ahead of the parliamentary elections, where the Armenian Prime Minister, he is expected to win, even despite his lower approval rating currently in Armenia. We've seen a lot of Western officials coming to Armenia. Just earlier this month, obviously, Armenia hosted an EU summit, so we had a bunch of European officials like Macron meeting with Pashinyan. And this led Russia to be quite angry at this. I think the fact that a US Secretary of State is coming and making sure he makes a stop in Yerevan for however long, it is just re-emphasizes how Armenia is trying to have this pro-Western track, while historically it has been obviously aligned with Russia. That's it for news today. I'll see you guys tomorrow.